Uh, approval of the minutes. Or I called the meeting to order first, and then approval of minutes.
I have no amendments and I approve as written.
All right. We'll approve the minutes from my end. Nothing here. I don't see Councilmember Coombs on yet. Any announcements?
Yes, Councilmember Medina, I have a few.
Okay.
First thing I wanted to do is remind everybody that this Saturday from 11 to 4 is our Fall into Fun event here at the AMC. So hopefully we can see everybody come down for one of our fun free events. It includes a pumpkin patch and a couple of live acts. We have a Fleetwood Mac cover band and another band after that. So should be a lot of fun for and the weather looks like it's going to be great. So I want to invite everybody down for that. I also want to welcome Brooke Bell back. She is back with us. She was off for an extended leave, and she has come back this week. So she's back in the meeting today. So you'll see Brooke Bell on the call. I also want to introduce 3 new staff members that I haven't had a chance to introduce to you yet. Matt Krebsbach is on the call. Matt, if you have your camera on, might wave and say hello. Matt is our new manager of parks operations. So he's replacing Eric Ostland, who was here for a little over a year or about a year. Matt has been with the city for quite some time as a supervisor and superintendent, and now manager of parks operations. Matt,
Hello.
you want to say hello? There you go.
Just happy to be here. Live in Aurora, play in Aurora. So this is my home for the last 15 years. Worked here the last 8+ years. So enjoy the community and happy to be part of this.
Thank you, Matt. Next, I want to introduce Anessa Janes. Anessa is our Deputy Director of Parks and Open Space. She is backfilling the position that I used to occupy before being the director. So Anessa Janes comes to us as our new deputy, and she'd like to say hi.
Good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here. It's really nice to meet you all, and I'm looking forward to getting started.
Thank you, Anessa. And the third is Chris Ryan. She is our new deputy. This is our day 3 or day 4. What are we at, day 3? So Chris has started with us this week, and she is our Deputy Director of Recreation and Golf. And she comes to us from the city of Denver.
Morning, everyone. Thanks. I'm having some camera issues, so I'm hopping in here with Winter. Thrilled also to be here, day 3. So excited to join Team Aurora and look forward to working with all of you. Thanks.
Thank you all. Welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Those are the announcements I had, and we do have a pretty packed agenda. So yeah, we have our board report outs from our 3 boards that will eventually be combining going into the next council year. So this will be our last report out from these 3 boards, and some other exciting agenda items, including another park naming. So if you're having deja vu, we did one just a few month or so ago, and we have another one to talk about today. So
all right, sounds great. All right, we'll go jump right into 4A, neighborhood park name recommendation at Piccadilly Road and 60th Avenue.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Nicole Ankeny, the Manager of Planning, Design, and Construction, and I'm going to ask Scott Hammonds, who is one of our planners, to give this presentation this morning. Scott?
Hey, everybody. I just want to start by thanking everyone for their time. This item is going to be about the naming of the neighborhood park within the Skydance development. Next slide, please. This is a developer constructed park, which is coming to us for ownership. So they're building it and we're owning and maintaining it. Next slide, please. So thus far, this park has been referred to as PA 16, which would be planning area 16 of the master plan development. You can see it in the center of that map there. Next slide, please. The park is centrally located within the development. The Skydance development itself is on the north side of town, kind of southwest of the airport. You can see E470 there on the map, if that kind of gives you some bearings. Next slide, please. The park design was approved by PRAB last year. Currently, we've had the drawings in for 1 round of review. At this point, we're seeking to name the park so we can stop referring to it as PA 16. The anticipated construction is going to be in spring of 2027. Next slide, please. So the naming policy requires us to submit this name to council through the city manager's office for approval. The developer has provided the name Solara Park. Next slide, please. The name Solara was chosen because of its relation to the sun and the aura. It's evocative of the kind of vibe that they're going for in their development. Next slide, please. So, if there's any additional questions, I'm willing to answer that, but would you guys like to forward this to council for consideration?
Thank you for the presentation. Councilmember Coombs or Murillo?
Thank you. No questions. I think it's a pretty straightforward item, and let's get this park named and not jumbles of numbers and letters. So yeah, I approve moving it forward.
Okay, I don't see Councilmember Coombs on, but yes, I approve as well, and so we'll move it forward then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next agenda is 4B, intergovernmental IGA between Arapahoe County Open Space and Joint Projects Funds for the amount of $585,000 for Triple Creek Trailhead site. I'm not sure who's presenting.
Yes. Good morning. This is Kurt Bish. I'm a principal planner in the Planning, Design, and Construction Division of PROS. So this agenda item pertains to an IGA that, if approved by council, will solidify a funding arrangement with Arapahoe County to cover 50% of the cost of construction of Phase 2 improvements at Triple Creek Trailhead. Next slide. The Triple Creek Trailhead is located on the south side of Colfax Avenue between Airport Boulevard to the west and Tower Road to the east. It's located at the confluence of several regional trails. Although the trailhead is named after the Triple Creek Trail, which connects to the site from the southeast, it also accesses a couple other trails, including the Sand Creek Trail from the northwest, and then also the Highline Canal Trail, which passes through the site from both the west and the east. Next slide. So the master plan for this trailhead was completed in 2016, and then phase 1 of construction wrapped up in 2019. Phase 1 included parking for 30 cars as well as parking for 6 horse trailers. It also included a vault toilet. But due to budget constraints, not all of the improvements that were contemplated by the master plan were able to be completed. So phase 2, you can see the blob that's highlighted in green. That's what we're talking about moving forward with for construction. Next slide. So this trailhead is located at approximately milepost 60 along the 71-mile long Highline Canal Trail corridor. And because of the strong relationship between this trailhead and the Highline Canal Conservancy has partnered with PROS in order to move forward with phase 2 construction. They've agreed to cover half of the cost of construction. Next slide. So the construction time frame we're looking at is to begin construction around April of next year and wrap it up in December of next year. The improvements that we're looking to install include landscape plantings, signage, interpretive features, natural play elements, a bike skills course, public art, and also a small shade shelter. Next slide. So the budget for this project, you can see at the bottom, is 1.17 million. And as I said earlier, the Conservancy is going to cover 50% of that, so 585,000. In May of this year, we applied to the Arapahoe County Open Spaces Program for joint funding to cover the other half. And then just last month, the Board of County Commissioners approved that funding request, subject to the execution of an IGA. Next slide. So that brings us to the question in front of the committee this morning. Do the committee members wish to approve the IGA with Arapahoe County for the use of joint project funds in the amount of $585,000 for Triple Creek Trailhead site improvements, moving the item forward to the next study session? Next slide. And I am available to answer any questions on this project prior to entertaining that question.
Thank you for the presentation. Councilmember Coombs, or go ahead. I'm not sure if she's on. Not Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you. No questions. I'm excited to visit once it's complete. I'm often in that neck of Aurora, so I'm excited to move this forward. I approve.
Okay. And I second that, so we'll move it forward. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Next is Golf Course Advisory Committee Annual Report.
Good morning, Councilmember Murillo and, oh gosh.
It's Medina. That's fine.
Sorry, Medina. Sorry, I lost my mic. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. Last night, we had our final Golf Advisory Committee. As you know, the Golf Advisory Committee is being combined with two other boards that will start work at the beginning of the year. And so I'd like to introduce our chairman. It's his last act to make the presentation of the annual report today. Ty Timkovich.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning, everybody. I'll reiterate, thank you for your time and your incredible work you do for the city of Aurora and our citizens here. I am, as Dan mentioned, the chairman of our current Golf Advisory Commission, which will be rolling up. This will be our last official act for that committee. We'll roll up into the pros board, and I'm looking forward to that as well. I will be transferring over. You can move the slide, please. Next slide. Perfect. So for those of you, you know us very well over here, but those of you that don't, Aurora Golf is a enterprise entity. By that, I mean, we support our own expenses and our own costs and our own revenue. So the good news is we're not coming to anybody. We're a handout. We are self-supporting, and the purpose of this call or this summary will be just to spend a few minutes going over the numbers. For those of you that are not aware, we do a lot of things within the community. We do community engagement through activities programs. We meet with neighbors and HOAs, and unlike a number of the other courses around this area, all of our courses are surrounded by fantastic neighborhoods. So interfacing with our communities and our golfers is important. Next slide, please. So just a quick FYI on the golf industry as a whole. It continues to grow. Golf is a finite operation. There's only so much land, and it requires a great deal of expense to water and maintain these golf courses. So there are not a lot of golf courses going up anywhere at this point, especially in this vicinity. But the golf industry is continuing to grow. For the purpose of our Aurora Golf, we were up 12% in revenues, 12 to 13% in revenues for this year. Reason being is we had a moderated spring. Our summer wasn't boiling hot, and that's given us an opportunity to put more golfers on the course. Another successful program we've had with the First Tee program. I'll go over what they do in a little bit. But again, it's a community interfacing organization as well. Just to give you an idea, there are about 216,000 yearly views on our Tee Time website or our City of Aurora Golf website. That's a lot of people. We've also done and added an upgrade to two of our courses. That would be Murphy Creek and Saddle Rock. We've added what's called Tag Marshal. You can flip the slide, please. Tag Marshal it's an interface within the carts that do a lot of things. It helps with golf course management and pace of play, but it also gives our players a chance to interface. And if you're familiar with golf, for those of you that do golf, knowing how far to hit your next shot is a big thing. A lot of people bring rangefinders. Some people bring phones that'll track the GPS and tell you. This has put that into two of our carts. I can tell you, or two of our courses. I can tell you as a golfer, that is a big, big thing to have that benefit of doing that. And it does separate us from a lot of the courses around here. The Denver courses don't currently have that option, whereas we do at two of our courses, and we'll be expanding to all of them. But we've recently installed that. Pace of play is probably the number one complaint that people give. And it's also a revenue buster because people will come in after a bunch of slow holes and ask for a rain check on a golf ticket. So that means they're coming back for free. This will help pace it up. We can send alerts to each cart and say, you know, you're getting into the zone where you are not pacing or you are firmly out of the zone. It'll allow the marshal that is on the course, managing course pace of play, to go out and talk to a group. And over the course of the history of golf, that has been probably one of the number one complaints. That is what Tag Marshal does. You can move that slide to the next slide, please. Just to talk about specifics of our operational revenue, we had 1.3 million and a little bit of change. Like I alluded to, that's up about 12%. Golf rounds were up 5% over the same course year to year. And if you think about that, golf rounds are solely inhibited by weather and daylight. We'll get people out, but it's easier when there's no snow on the course, of course, or it's not below freezing in the morning. So for instance, at this time of year, we're going to have less golf rounds per day than we would in a July or a June day, which is good. We were up 5% last year, attributed to weather and, of course, the interest in Aurora Golf. Book a Tee Time pages, I alluded that there were 279,000 views. We have 83,000 active and registered users that are part of that Tee Time system or that page. So that means I can go on, I can log in, I can see tee times that are available, choose it, and we put in a credit card as an active user so that we can guarantee that tee time. We currently don't penalize anybody for not showing up. Other courses around here do. It may be a differentiator, but it also is probably something we're going to consider in the future as to how to handle that when a golfer cancels last second that is blocked off a tee time. But for the moment, golf course revenue's up. Next slide, please. We talked about our community interfacing, and we do a lot of it. One of them is the First Tee program. First Tee is a national organization that supports junior golfers in their quest to become better golfers or learn more about the sport. Colorado has a chapter, and that chapter, by the way, next week is, or 2 weeks, is having a fundraiser for their program, which Dan Wickman and I will be going to and representing a little bit of the Aurora Golf. I'll be helping out as well and hopefully donating some money to that great organization. But it provides resources for kids to play golf. That includes tee times that are paid for, equipment in many cases, lessons, which is very important for a young person. And I know several other people that are involved with First Tee Golf nationally, especially in Southern California. And it's just such an incredible program. That's one of them what we support. Next slide, please. So we also connect with our community that surrounds and touches our golf courses here in Aurora. We host annual half-price charity events. Half price allows the charity itself to get more, garner more funds by charging full price or full price plus, and that benefits the charity getting discounted rounds. We donate rounds to charitable organizations. As an example, school PTCOs, things that involve the community and our kids and our families, we will donate rounds to so that they can auction them off or give them away for donations. That applies to all Cherry Creek and Aurora high school programs. They pay zero fees. A lot of these schools, Smoky Hill, Rangeview, they have some fantastic golf programs for their students, and we provide the ability for those students to show up and play golf and not have to worry about cost, which is important because some of our marginalized communities, we wouldn't have golfers if they had to pay regular rates. So thank you to the Aurora Golf Division for providing that. The third thing we do, or one of the things we do as well, is award scholarships. It's called the Paul McMullen Golf Scholarship Fund. It is a privately funded scholarship entity that we give scholarships out to seniors that want to be in the golf community, whether they want to play, whether they want to work, whether they want to direct. It doesn't necessarily have to be our golf community, but just to benefit the overall golf community worldwide. We provide scholarships. This last year, we were able to provide 3 scholarships for $1,500 apiece to 3 outstanding students with varying backgrounds that are going to go and be involved in golf at some level or another. Next slide is the final slide, and wanted to open it up if you folks have any questions. Again, there's no ask on this. We appreciate your support as the city council and the mayor's office. But if you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. If I'll be happy to answer them, or Dan can step in and answer them as well.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Murillo.
Yeah, just thank you for the presentation. I appreciate the partnership with our schools. I think making sports like golf a little bit more accessible um, outside of, the usual suspects, I think is a really great offering that we have. And yeah, I would just love to see that continue and partnering, with different based organizations, which a school is deeply connected to communities. So yeah, no questions. Really happy to see this, and glad that you could join us for one last presentation in this format.
I'll be glad. I appreciate the invite, and I will be here. I'm moving over to the pros board as well, and I hope to see you all again soon.
Again, thank you for all you do. Having been part of pros for a while, I appreciate everybody in the departments. You guys continue to do a great job, and getting community connected to the resources and getting people active. So appreciate that, and we'll look forward to you moving to the next committee. So thank you.
Appreciate it very much, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. All right, move on to the next agenda item, which is Open Space Advisory Board.
Hello. Thank you, Councilmember Medina and Councilmember Murillo, for giving us some time to talk about the Open Space and Natural Resources Board. Dennis Roy is going to be presenting this presentation. He is the chairperson of the board. So Dennis.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Adrian. And as Adrian said, my name is Dennis Roy. I'm currently the chair of the Open Space Advisory Board. With me today, I also have Bob Gemmel. I believe I saw him on there, although my screen's not showing, or on the call here, although his screen's not showing me at the moment. Bob is our vice chair of the Open Space Advisory Board. We're a volunteer board, much like what you've already heard from the other parks boards, that we will soon be combining in together. And so this will be our last presentation to this particular committee, but we do still have a couple official activities that are going to be happening here in these last couple months of the year that I'll try to touch on over the course of the next few slides. Could we move to the next slide, please? So this is our current 9 citizens that are on the Open Space Advisory Board. Much like typical boards, we all do meet monthly. We have a very varied history and background across all of our board's members. Currently, as I said, there are these 9 members. We had one new member this year, that Scott Campbell, that added to our board, but otherwise we're a board that's pretty experienced. We have been on this Open Space Advisory Board anywhere from 2 up to 9 years at this point. And so it's a lot of people that are on this board that are very passionate about the open spaces in Aurora. Many of our members, or our board members, have some backgrounds, whether it be in the hard sciences of natural history and that, or just like me, I was brought to the board because I'm a wildlife photographer in my spare time. And so I love getting out into Aurora's open spaces and utilizing these resources that we have. We're very thankful that the city of Aurora is somewhat unique and that 10% of its land is declared to be open space, and we love using those resources there for that. Next slide, please. Something that we really, as a board, enjoy the most about our position for advising the city and the Parks and Recreation open space on in our role is actually getting out and being in our open spaces. Throughout the warm weather months, we meet at each of these different open space areas. Thank you to Councilmember Medina, who joined us for 2 meetings that I believe that you've been able to join us to this year, Councilmember Medina. One of them was out there at the Jewel Wetlands back in September, but we've also visited these other sites throughout the year. I'll take a moment here just to pause for a second to talk about these 2 particular images that are here that might seem somewhat inconsequential, if you will, but I want to highlight them just a little bit. The first one on the left there that you can mostly see 4 people with their backs to you, but then Eric Watts in the distance, where Eric is giving a presentation to the other board members from a very unique location called the Ponderosa Preserve. This is from our August meeting, where a lot of people don't realize that Aurora has this amazing open space resource right in our community that is a really unique ecological space because it is in a transition area between the plains and the mountains ecosystems. And so you have these ponderosa pines, as you see here in the photos, and as the name would indicate, but you also have a lot of grasslands and different species there. So when you walk through this area with some of the expertise that the Parks and Rec staff have, it's just amazing to learn all the different things that you can see right here in some of these local areas. So that was the one slide that I wanted to do there. The next slide on the right, I also want to highlight somewhat to kind of embarrass my colleague that's on the call with me here today, because that is Bob there showing a bug to who little gentleman that happens to be my son in that red hat. Still trying to get him to get a haircut there, but one of the things that we can really utilize our open spaces for is demonstrating these little things. Bob has an encyclopedic knowledge of all of the bugs and invertebrates that are in the Aurora open space, and this is a really opportunity for both a big opportunity. Ugh, sorry, my words are flowing together. It's a big resource and opportunity for both volunteers as well as the Aurora staff to educate everyone on all these different whether it be flora or fauna that are in our area. So really wanted to just use these as kind of a microcosm, these 2 photos as kind of a microcosm of some of those resources that are out there. Next slide, please. Okay. In the name of the conservation of all of the open spaces that we have, one of our roles as an open space advisory board that I want everyone to be aware of is that we do quarterly monitoring of the conservation easements that are within the open space system. So there are 4 different areas: the Triple Creek Complex, the Star K Ranch, Cole Senac Nature Area, and the Buckley Buffer Complex. Each of these 4 different properties are classified as conservation easements, and as a volunteer board, we've taken on the responsibility of monitoring these areas on behalf of the city. So we go out each quarter, we take photos such as these here to document any changes to those properties. Our board members also will submit any type of tickets through Access Aurora if we see any issues in any of our open spaces, whether that be good things or bad things. Oftentimes when I complete my monitorings of the Buckley Buffer Complex, I am sending emails into the staff to notify them of different wildlife that we might see in these areas. Earlier, I had one of my photos of a pronghorn up on there. We often see pronghorn at all of our different conservation easements here, and we will send in those kinds of notifications to the Aurora staff to let them know what the fauna of the area will be, whether that be pronghorn, so large mammals, mule deer, those kinds of things, or even some of our birds that are out there in these different areas. So we send in those good things. We also are doing it to monitor for some of those other issues that we might have. If there's any type of illegal dumping that is happening in these conservation easements, or any other type of notification that we want to send in to the Parks and Rec staff, we do that as a part of these monitorings. Next slide, please. One of the resources that I also want to point out to this group as kind of a higher level, or not higher level, maybe tangential to the open space itself, is to just really draw attention to some of the board membership that we have right now. This is a group of very, very passionate volunteers that, as we are going through this transition into the new combined board, I want everybody on this call to be aware of how many of our current open space advisory board memberships are still planning to be active volunteers for the city, although maybe not as board members going forward. This is a group of very passionate people that, as I mentioned earlier, come from very varied backgrounds. Myself and another former board member got onto the board because of our wildlife photography habits. But we also have Bob that is, as I mentioned, he's encyclopedic and PhD level knowledge of insects and entomology. We have a conservation, a wildlife conservationist that helps out on the board as well. And so it's these very varied backgrounds that combine together. We really feel like we provide a great resource to the city and are looking forward to continuing that going forward. Next slide, please. I have two slides here, these next two that are kind of, maybe it's three now. Nope, it is two. That are kind of highlighting some of that expertise and the way that we can use that expertise of the board. The first that I'll call out is that Aurora had a pretty monumental, I hope Bob would agree with me using that word there, opportunity this year where the Society for Ecological Restoration held its World Congress here in Denver just back at the end of September, first part of October, where as a part of that large conference, one of the field trips of that was a visit to the Plains Conservation Center. So you can see here that City Aurora staff member Fendi Dupree, she gave presentations both in the classroom setting, that's the lower right photo on this slide, as well as out in the field at the Plains Conservation Center to really highlight some of the efforts that have been taking place at the PCC around restoring that to a native grasslands. And so as a part of that, there was this visit where members from this Congress came out and visited our property. And that's a really big deal because in total, that particular conference had 1,400 delegates that were visiting Denver and the Aurora area. So the Aurora and the Plains Conservation Center were in that Congress publications across to all of those different people that crossed then across 75 different countries. And so it was this huge opportunity to really highlight the city of Aurora and some of those conservation efforts that have occurred out at the PCC. I will give Bob just a moment here if he has anything else that he wants to add about the PCC and the CIRC conference, excuse me. Bob, are you still there? Maybe
He's
Bob,
muted. He's muted.
Oh, I think he's hitting the mute button. Bob, if you get the unmute button there, we can come back to you there. But I just want to reiterate that this was such a unique opportunity this year and really a big just a really big opportunity to put Aurora on the map. I'll try to paraphrase a little bit one of the ways that the reasons why we got onto this Congress was that there's actually a study going on out now at the PCC where it's completely volunteer led with a little bit of support from Fendi to utilize some of our native grasses to then try to outcompete some of the invasive grasses and replace some of those. So there's plotting going on out there that is, once again, it's all volunteer led, but it's a way to help to push out those invasive grasses or invasive plants using natural means so that way we can restore that natural prairie out there. So very cool opportunity. We'll go ahead and move to the next slide. The other thing that our board just completely just enjoys and really takes every advantage of every opportunity that we can have is to go out to different public events to share the messaging of our open spaces, both their availability and to help with the education around the public spaces. And our center photo here is a few of our board members along with our famous coyote that we call Clyde. Clyde on a 9-to-5 basis lives out at the nature center at the Plains Conservation Center, but then he gets to leave the office a little bit and come out and visit with us on the weekends. Clyde is this that stuffed coyote there that lives on our table anytime that we're at one of these events and just draws in people. Regardless, the varied events that we go to are things like HOA festivals. We were at the 720 Day of Remembrance this year. We were at the Sand Creek Mural Celebration. This upcoming weekend, we will also be out at the Trick or Treat Trail event that's going to be at Starkey Ranch, where we were able to set up with our table here. Clyde brings the people in, and then we're able to talk to them about the various flora and fauna that are around in the different open spaces in the area. Next slide, please. Just a couple more photos talking about these events because I love this photo of the woman in the middle there where she has her hands up and she was just so excited. I'm a little rushed on time, but I will try to fit it in here. She was so excited in this moment because that particular HOA event was at the East Quincy Highlines location, which is off of Piccadilly and Hamden. For everyone's reference, that's a whole quarter-mile away from the Plains Conservation Center. So she is literally a stone's throw away from the PCC, but she had no availability or no knowledge of that availability of that resource there. As you can see, she's sitting in a wheelchair at the moment, and so she had had a some type of accident. I believe it was a car accident back in May. This event was there at the end of August, where from May to August she had been confined to a wheelchair and didn't know that she could get out into the open space. We were talking to her about it, and we were pointing out how, first of all, that open space resource was just down the road from her, and second of all, the city of Aurora offers the resources for her to be able to go out and use one of the track chairs. So while she was confined to that wheelchair, she could still use those resources to get out into the community instead of being confined into this wheelchair since her accident. So it was just an amazing opportunity and experience there for us as volunteer board members who are so passionate about our open spaces to go and share this and make people who otherwise would be unaware of the open spaces more aware now. Okay, wanted to highlight that one. And then otherwise, we can go to the next slide, and I will say thank you to Councilmember Medina and Councilmember Murillo for having us this morning. Really appreciate these few minutes to kind of explain all of our open spaces and the resources we have, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dennis, for the presentation. Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you for the presentation. This is going to sound a little cheesy, but I'm getting a little like emotional just like hearing. What a great, like, first of all, a great way to start the day to just like hear all of the incredible things that we offer our community members. I remember I'm at the Star K Ranch so often with my 2 dogs. I don't live too far from there. And I remember stumbling upon the trick or treating. I also didn't realize that that was available. And, just having that as an option. I know there's a sensory garden at the Star K Ranch for, kids who have sensory issues. I have, a nephew that has autism. So being able to just provide those opportunities is just so lovely and so wonderful. And I'm getting kind of teary-eyed about it. So I don't think I can say much more without like overdoing it and my voice cracking up. So just thank you for the presentation. This is so lovely. It makes me so proud to be in Aurora.
Thank you for that. I will just add, if I may, that like that is one of the joys of being a volunteer for this particular board, and why I'm so happy that as we kind of go through what I consider to be this administrative step of combining the boards and everything, all of the passion that's on our current advisory board is still going to stay with the city. They are already making connections with the city staff members to keep this passion. If you ever see one of our board, if you ever see us at one of these events with one of our booths there, I highly encourage you to talk to another co-board members of ours. Bob Hunchberger is his name, where Bob will take you through a speech that will get you so excited about owl feathers that you just had no idea about all the details that Bob can tell you about owl feathers and just how passionate he is, both about those as well as just open spaces in general.
I might have to do that.
Yep, I would agree with Councilmember Murillo. Yeah, you guys do provide a great resource. That's one of the reasons. I grew up in a very rural area, so the outdoors has always been very special in my mind. And I've been fortunate to have a space, in the mountains, a cabin in the mountains. So that's one of the great things about my children. My grandchildren now get to be exposed to all those things, and also locally too. I was just at Star K Ranch yesterday with my grandson on a tour for his school, uh, talking about the different activities, and then also the new playground that you guys are building out there that hopefully will be done by December, I heard. So that will be a great addition. It looks great so far. And so, yeah, no, I appreciate everything you do. And yes, you have a wealth of information. I've been to a couple of sessions, community meetings, and the people there are very experienced, very knowledgeable, and approachable too. I think that's the other piece. And you can sense the passion of everybody. And that's kind of what we need, people that care about these things and enjoy the jobs they do, whether they're volunteer or paid. So appreciate everything you guys do, and we'll continue to create more space.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Councilmember Medina, I'm sorry, I got so wrapped up in the feels earlier. I
No
did
problem.
actually have one note.
Go ahead.
I was just looking at the website for the specifically the trick or treat nature trail. And I just wanted to confirm, I see that it says it's this weekend. It says Friday, October 25th or Saturday, October 26th. But I think the dates are wrong. I think this Friday is the 24th and Saturday is the 25th. So I'm assuming that it's just an error. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't Friday and sorry, Saturday and Sunday as
Yeah.
opposed to Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, that's a typo. It is this weekend.
And it is Friday and Saturdays. So when I
Yes.
share that, okay. Okay, perfect. That's all.
No problem. Great catch. All right, well, thank you again. And we'll move on to the next, which is Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
All right, good morning. My name is Winter Steger, Manager of Recreation, and it will be my pleasure to introduce Marty Tesmer, who is the Chair of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and he will be presenting.
Thanks, Winter. And, oh, by the way, it's good to see you back, Brooke. Look forward to talking to you. Anyway.
Thank you.
Sure. This will be the last of the PowerPoint presentations today, and I'll be covering, of course, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. You can read, but we don't do any of the outreach activities that the two predecessor boards that you just heard about. So the question is, what do we do and how do we do it? Let me see if I can show you, and I'll try to be succinct. Next slide, please. Okay. You can read this, but to reiterate, we are supposed to be the voice of the public about parks, the rec programs and facilities, their plans and their budget. How do we do that? We basically engage in reviewing, approving, recommending, and recruiting. So the rest of the slide presentation is going to be some examples of how we do each one of those 4 activities. Ta-da! Next slide. What we reviewed. First off, the design for new parks. I put Solara in there, which was the name we've just tentatively reviewed. As you saw, Nicole was talking about the Sky Dance development, and the name Solara Park being tentatively approved. We reviewed the design of that, gave different input on what the trails are, asked a lot of questions about what facilities are included, what shade structures and such, and finally gave the board's approval to the name Solara. And then the same thing was the design for one of our other new parks, which is going to be called Skywatch Park, which I think is kind of sexy. The original name was going to be Dome Park. That's the one that has an FAA radar dome in it, as you can see over there on the right. That required some discussion before we approved it about what facilities and offerings you can have that are within the allowable limits of the FAA radar dome perimeter. A different type of topic to go through. So we usually discuss that with Nicole, who presents these, Nicole and her crew. Usually disappointing because we really don't have much to pick at because they're so well organized in what they give us, according to meeting all the requirements for new parks. But anyway, we reviewed those 2 new parks, and then after some discussion and suggestions, gave our approval for them. And then we also reviewed changes to existing parks. For example, the Redtail Park had a revised plan or master plan for its development. So we had a public hearing with the public on that, took questions from the public and discussions along with Nicole, and eventually tried to meet anybody's questions or requirements they had and give our final approval. The Central Community Park was another one that was a little bit more involved and, could I say, heated, because the change to the Central Community Park involved getting rid of a pond that was there. And it needed to be gotten rid of in terms of water control, according to the Aurora Water Board. But a lot of the people who lived around there thought it was important to keep it. So we had quite a few different questions from the public who called in about why you're going to do that, why we had to do it, how you can get around it, can it be changed? And so that kind of a discussion goes on a lot of times when we have public hearings. The board with Nicole tries to answer those questions and then eventually give the approval if we think it's appropriate for the changes to an existing park. Okay. Next slide, please. Another part of what we review, the Parks and Rec master plans. This isn't a plan for a park or our rec center. This is the plans to feature all of the parks and recreation projects that are coming up. And so that's more of a broad brush approval and viewpoint of what Parks and Rec plans to do over the next coming year, and often to what they did the previous year. We also look over the Parks and Rec budget. And certainly not going to try and approve the overall amount, but the advisory committee will ask questions like, why are so many dollars being spent on this program and another one is being minimized? Can we offer any new budgetary items like, what is the ones we had? A Parkinson's recreation class for people with Parkinson's. And also for some of it, what the overall budget is, why it got cut, why it might be approved in the future, what it's like. We also look at administrative policies. One of the policies that required a little more discussion revision this last year was the youth age policy for attending the rec centers. That had to be changed, we thought, to allow for more supervision. The Parks and Rec programs gave a good justification for that, but we had to review it, discuss it with him, and see if, along with approving those policies for age and so on, we might also get a little more supervision of areas like the weight room and other parts of the rec center, because a couple of the Parks and Rec people noticed they seem to require a little more supervision. We also had a policy about the pricing on the commemorative benches that the park puts in. People can buy a commemorative bench for a park, but what type of price should we set on that? Not too much, then people won't get any. Too little, and the Parks and Rec program has to try and pay for the excess. So what was a reasonable price to put in there? And also, are there any options for not having a commemorative bench, but something else? Well, commemorative trees. It's that's the kind of thing we hash out a lot of times when we're talking to Parks and Rec people when they bring the policies to us. Do they seem completely sensible? Is there anything we could change? Why have you established this particular budgetary cost or age limit, things like that? Next slide. What we recommend. I think you've already seen it through what I'm explaining. We try to offer changes to the new and existing plans that come out. For example, one of the things we put in from the advisory board on the Dome Park, which is going to be called Skywatch. They have a biking trail that they're going to be putting in the new park, but some of our people who are trail bikers suggested that they change the signage to be a little more obvious about who can use that trail and what type of bikes or vehicles can get on it. and not just embedded in a big rule, a list of rules on a sign, but have a specific sign for it. On another one, the Central Park, which was, as I mentioned before, we were having their plan amended to get rid of the pond. When we were discussing the changes to Central Park in the public hearing, one of the things that came up from the advisory board and the public was sound baffling, the sound of pickleball courts, how they interfere sometimes with the neighbors. So after a little bit of discussion among our advisory board, because we have several pickleball players, sound baffling was one of the things that we recommended be included on any new pickleball court developments that might interfere with the local neighborhood's peace. Yeah. We don't want to be accused of disturbing the peace. Changes to programs and policies, as I said, recommendations, for example, on changing the pricing for the commemorative benches, maybe the addition of other offerings. That's one of the ones we do. And finally, one of the most important ones was we often, as park members and users, the advisory board often brings in their own suggestions about things to change in the parks and the recreation programs. What we call the boots on the ground observations. When we walk in a park, when we're using the weight room, if we're out there attending one of the movie nights or something, one of our park members might notice something to bring up that we would say might be changed or at least might be attended to pay attention to. These aren't attached to any particular plans that are presented to us by the Parks Board or by Parks and Rec or by Nicole. These are ones we just see that we always bring up at the end of the meeting. I mean, one of the ones that's come up that we've observed was the continuing rise of motorized vehicles in the park. You know, it used to be just motorized bikes, but now we're getting to the point where we've seen ATVs in there running around the park. So something we think to be attended to. A couple times we brought up issues of vandalism that may have escaped the notice of the general park board or staff because they're not out to that particular park in that particular area. So we have things like that that we also bring up based on our own experiences with the park. And that's why a board's so important. We're all users. We get to use it. We get to give, as we said, the voice of the public on what we think may be changed or improved. And finally, we also just, as a side note, put our comments in on the Build Up Aurora infrastructure plan because we had a special session with him, with just our board and the infrastructure planners on what we thought might be additions or improvements to the Aurora infrastructure. Next slide. Other duties, we might put this under miscellaneous. We get presentations from the Parks and Rec committees about what park and recreation programs do and why they do it. This could be golf, which we've had. We've also had presentations, about the entertainment centers, about, oh my gosh, I was trying to remember the one we just did. Oh, the nightly programs that go on during the summer, why they're doing it, what they've got planned, and just in general, what suggestions we might have for the future. We also independently in the advisory board try to gather our own community input. Some of us talk to park attendees when we're out in the parks or using the rec center. We also do some research on the Parks and Rec magazine, the national magazine that comes out, to see if they have any ideas for us. We also get the comments from the next door sites. Often they'll be talking about something that happened in the park that they wish was in a park, or they're just giving compliments on a park feature or program that they really liked. So we try and do our own information gathering too as a board. And we also elect new board members, obviously, although now it'll be participating in electing the new board members for the new board, which starts in January. So that's pretty much it. I just covered researching other programs too. So those are some of the other duties we try and do as an advisory board. Next slide. These are the park members we have currently. As you can see, we had 3 vacant positions. That posed a bit of a problem. We just couldn't get people to apply. That posed a bit of a problem because we had to make sure everybody was in for a quorum. There wasn't much margin of error for somebody to be gone and for us to still be able to make a quorum for a meeting. We're hoping that that will improve with the parks merger, the different boards merger that's coming up in January. Okay, next slide. Any questions?
Thank you for the presentation, Councilmember Murillo.
No, but
Oh.
the cute little picture at the end. Thank you for the presentation.
Hey, the owl's supposed to be challenging you. It's like,
I feel it.
come on.
Yeah. Again, I look forward to, seeing what this new committee looks like, and I'll continue to support the Parks and Rec as I, former member, there, worker there. So I want to make sure, that we continue to stay robust, have the programs that community needs and wants, and, help to keep everything going forward. So appreciate everybody's work, and thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
And
That's it from my end, Winter.
all right, next is miscellaneous matters for consideration.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify on the Trick or Treat Nature Trail that's this week, it is Saturday and Sunday. So the dates are Saturday and Sunday. If you go to the nature website, you can sign up. Saturday is completely full. I just looked to double check, and all the dates, all the time slots are taken on Saturday, but there's some left on Sunday. So if anybody's interested in the Trick or Treat Nature Trail at Morrison Nature Center, go on and sign up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Topics for next month's meeting.
So as staff, we don't have a lot for next month's meeting, and it will tend to fall right at Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So we wanted to talk to the committee about whether we want to cancel for November or see if there's any items that need addressed.
Councilmember Murillo, any?
Nothing that's pressing on my end. I think we typically cancel December too?
Quite often, yes.
Okay.
Especially
So-
because that'll be during the transition of the new council and probably new appointees, I would imagine. So
Okay, so I guess that I'm totally okay with that. It just means that it's my last meeting, and I just wanted to express my gratitude to this team and all of the staff, all of the advisory board team members, and just our residents for all of your support over the years, all of the work that you do and will continue to do. And I'll be stepping down from council, but not too far away. Might even join an advisory council in a couple of years or so. So yeah, just thank you for all of your work. It's been a privilege to work with you all.
yeah, likewise from staff, we really appreciate your support. We couldn't do this without you guys, and the constant support we get from this committee is very much appreciated, and you specifically, Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you all. Yeah, like you said, I'm good with that too. So yeah, I know with the holidays coming up and the transitions is probably is on that as well. So
Yeah, we would either need to move it or cancel it because it would typically fall right on Thanksgiving.
yeah, no, we're good with canceling both November and December. We can note that. All
That
right.
is all I have.
All right. Nothing else, and we will adjourn. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.